Hi, this is my grandpa Kevin. He was in the Marine Corps in Vietnam, and I had a question for you right away.
Okay.
What was your subdivision?
Okay, I was with India Company, 3rd Battalion, 1st Marines, 1st Marine Division.
Okay. We were working on a project for NHD. It's called National History Day.
Okay.
Which is a history competition,
Mm-hmm.
and this topic is debate and diplomacy. And I had a couple of questions about the U.S. policy of containment, how it played a role in the Vietnam.
Okay.
So I was hoping you could answer some questions that I had.
Mm-hmm.
So what was it like in the war? Was it scary?
Yeah, it was scary, especially when you have somebody that's trying to kill you every day. It makes for a pretty exciting time. When we first got over there, most of us were pretty committed that, we were preventing the spread of communism, throughout Southeast Asia. After the first 2 or 3 weeks, we saw the way that the war was run, and it was just a matter of staying alive.
Yeah.
Until the end of our 13 months.
Mm-hmm.
So the wild royal idea of containing communism didn't even bother us after the first couple of weeks we were there. We didn't even think about it.
Okay. What did they tell you about the war? Everything that they told you was true, or did they lie to you?
Well, like I said, they told us that the war was to contain communism in Southeast Asia. All indications from what we saw was that, yeah, that was probably true to a certain extent, but wars drive economies
Okay.
a lot. So the more material and stuff like bullets and beans and guns and stuff like that they sell, the more money they make.
Okay.
So after a while, and we used to sit around, and when we had a chance to sit around, we'd sit around and talk about, what we'd seen and what we had decided about the whole Vietnamese policy. And, it went both ways.
Yeah.
Some of us believed in it, and some of the guys, thought it was pretty bogus the way things were going.
Do you know who would have disagreed with the U.S. policy of containment in Vietnam?
Who would have?
So, you were on which side of the Vietnamese, fighting with who?
We were fighting with the South Vietnamese.
And you were
against the North Vietnamese and the Viet Cong.
And why did the North Vietnamese and
Well, the North Vietnamese that was the communist group.
Okay.
And what they were trying to do is they were trying to take over Southeast Asia and make it all communist, which is what it is now.
Yeah.
Although the United States has a pretty good reputation, has a pretty good rapport with Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we exchange goods and things like that, and there's a lot of, maybe not a lot, but there's a fair amount of tourism that goes to Vietnam because it's all changed. And the Vietnamese as a people have basically forgiven the Americans for the war. We destroyed a lot of their country.
Yeah.
We really did. And they used the U.S. used Agent Orange to defoliate, or to get rid of all the vegetation, so that the Viet Cong and the NVA didn't have a place to hide. The problem with that is you've probably heard that Agent Orange
Mm-hmm.
causes a lot of problems with veterans who were there.
Yes. Well,
not only is it causing a lot of problems with us, but for the Vietnamese people who had that stuff poured on them, there's a lot of birth defects. There's a lot of kinds of cancer that have gone around with them and stuff. It's
mm-hmm.
just, we really did a jail funky on that country, in the name of war.
Is that orange stuff like powder that they spread with
No,
planes? Or
no,
was it-
it's not powder. It's liquid, but they did spread it with plane.
So they just like poured it over the whole country?
Yeah, it's just like, well, when you watch around here, if you watch a helicopter that's spraying a field,
Yeah.
you know they got those big booms
Yes.
out to the side, and you see the stuff coming out. That's the way it was with Agent Orange. Only they used really, really big planes.
So like,
You know, they use C-130s and
okay.
you know.
And how do you think the U.S. policy of containment in Vietnam changed history? That's how do you think, not what
Oh, well.
they told you.
The policy containment was to try to contain the communist forces, trying to contain them in North Vietnam, and wherever there was a pocket of them in South Vietnam, you know, we tried to, you know, use blocking forces and heavy artillery and bombing and stuff to try to contain them in their spots or drive them back to the north. And you know, it sounds like a good policy, but
It wasn't.
no, you know, it's almost impossible because all of our training in the Marine Corps and the Army and stuff like that, all of it is, you know, man on man. You know, I mean, there could be somebody, you know, enemy soldiers are down at the end of the road, and they're trying to come and take our position. So that's the kind of stuff we're used to, but that's not the kind of war
That happened.
that they fought in Vietnam. The war that they fought in Vietnam was a war of attrition, which means that whoever had the most soldiers at the end of the war won, which we didn't even get to the end of the war. But you know, it was guerrilla fighting. You know, it was sneak up on our patrols and, you know, ambush us and, you know, shoot a bunch of times and then take off. You know, run off into the woods where we couldn't find them. You know, and we did the same. You know, we had ambushes and patrols and stuff like that, the same as they did, but, I mean, they knew the country, we didn't. I never saw any of the, early on in the war, they used, the Viet Cong they'd dig a hole in the ground, and then they'd put sharpened bamboo stakes stuck in the ground with poop on them. And then they'd cover them up. You know, so an American soldier would come along and step in that hole, and the stakes that were in there were strong enough to puncture a boot.
So
You
does
know,
that eventually kill them?
Eventually, it could kill them, but it was mostly
Just to injure
done to injure them, to disable them.
Okay.
You know, so then all of a sudden, instead of having just a plain old dead troop, which is, you know, pretty blunt,
Yeah.
you've got a wounded troop
that you have to get
that
out.
you have to take care of, you know, get them to the rear and get them, and you know, and that's a lot more burden on your supply system.
Okay.
Okay.
So when did you go to Vietnam?
I went to Vietnam in about May of 1970,
Okay.
and I was there for I was supposed to be there for 13 months,
Okay.
so I would have got out in April of 1972. Yeah. Anyway, but I got wounded halfway through my tour, almost exactly. I got wounded on my sister's birthday, September 14th, at 11:20. I was wounded. We were in the Khoisan Mountains, and I was medevaced. We were out on a listening post, and the VC came by and threw some grenades on us, and 5 out of 9 guys got wounded bad enough to be medevaced. And so we got hit at 20 after 12, or 20 after 11. I was in Da Nang, which was about 65 miles away, and we were in the mountains. I was in Da Nang at midnight. So it took 40 minutes to get us out of you can't even hardly get, you know, medevac from your house to the hospital here in 40 minutes.
Yeah.
but we flew in by helicopter.
Okay. Did you receive any medals at all?
A medal. I got a Purple Heart, and evidently that's considered a medal.
Mhm.
We only got a Purple Heart for being wounded,
Okay.
you know, and then our unit got a Vietnamese Cross of Gallantry. We got a Meritorious Unit Citation, but everybody in the unit got those,
Yeah.
you know, because we were we were all together.
Yes.
No, I didn't. You know, Purple Heart was the only medal that, you know, they really gave to everybody that got wounded.
Was it scary for you when you got wounded? Did you try to, or did you have somebody help you escape?
Well, like I said, there was 9 of us on the listening post, and 5 of us got wounded bad enough to be medevaced.
Okay, so then.
You know, bad enough to have a helicopter come and pick us up.
So then 4 other people had to try to help
So
you guys.
And it so happened that in the couple weeks before this, before we got hurt, our corpsman, who is our medical person, had been medevaced for malaria. He had gotten malaria, so they wouldn't let him be in the field anymore. So we had no corpsman.
So you guys had to help each other.
We had to help each other, and it's really funny because we had been in the rear, like in the back in our main base for a couple days. Well, one day we walked in the front gate, got a hamburger and a can of pop, and out the other side. But we happened to have time to stay in what we called a hooch, which was just a little house, and there was a bandolier of bandages hanging on a hook in this hooch, and there's 7 little pouches in a bandolier, and each pouch had a Band-Aid in it. And you know, I always like to have, you know, be the cool guy and had all the extra stuff, so I took that bandolier of bandages, and that night when we got hit, I used every one of those bandages.
So you were the one that became prepared.
Not intentionally.
Not intentionally.
I mean,
but you were always
just, you know, why did I don't know why I picked up those bandages.
You never
It was
know.
just, no, it just never know. It was one of those things that I just happened to think, oh, yeah, that's cool, you know, I'll throw it over like this. And while I was in Vietnam, I was a machine gunner.
Okay.
So I carried a machine gun, which
You can start
is,
showing pictures if you'd like.
yeah, about a third of the way through my tour, oh, wait a minute, which way do I go? Okay, we lived in that bunker that's behind me there for about 2 weeks.
Okay.
And this is a picture of me, slightly thinner than what I am now. You can see I wore a bush hat, and you can kind of sort of see the black and green camouflage paint on my face, and I'm holding an M60 machine gun.
And then the thing behind you was the house that you
The
were
thing
talking
behind
about.
me is called a bunker, and that's where we lived.
Are those sandbags on the top?
There are sandbags on the top. They're probably about 3 feet thick.
So
And
that's what protected you.
Hopefully it protected us.
Yeah.
You know, so, and that, see what else do I have? When we're out in the field, or out in the bushes, we used to say, this is how we lived.
So you guys lived with
You know,
only a
you
tent.
can see right up on that thing that's hanging on the top there. That's a Poncho Liner,
Yeah.
which you can buy at the surplus store, and it's just strung on branches between a couple of trees.
And you thought you guys were safe under there.
Yeah,
Well, that's your only option.
no, that's our only option for shade. You can see my buddy over here on the side is drinking out of a canteen.
Yep.
And you can see some of our gear laying around there.
Yep.
It's probably, I could safely guess right now, it's probably 110 to 120 degrees,
Wow.
even in the shade. But it's a damp heat. It's a damp heat.
And then the next.
Yeah, that one is just from boot camp. Here we are That's me. And we had gotten resupplied from the rear. In other words, they brought out more beans and bullets and stuff. And that can, at the number 10 can of chili, and I am heating it up on a little stove. And, when we heated up the chili, we'd throw in peanut butter and pineapple jam and stuff to change the taste of it a little bit.
Yeah. Was the food that you guys got good?
No.
Whenever they brought it in?
No. It was not good.
Did you guys get to eat 3 times a day?
No, we usually only ate once a day.
So you guys had to consume a lot of food.
Well, each, like, a sea ration comes in a box about like this, and about that tall. Comes in a box that's about
This big.
yeah, okay, that wide, and about this tall. And there's 3 cans in there.
Okay.
One can will have your main entree, which is sometimes spaghetti and meatballs. It could be ham slices in liquid. It could
So it
be
wasn't
pork
always
slice. No, it wasn't all that great. So we'd take like spaghetti and mix it with, like I said, peanut butter or pineapple jam, just to make it taste a little different. Sometimes if we were lucky enough, and it happened one time, we got what were called LRPs, which is a long-range patrol ration.
Okay.
And it's like a dehydrated meal
Okay.
you would get at Shields,
Yeah.
to go camping.
Yeah.
And so you put water in it and you stir it up. Each one of those meals is about 3,000 calories. So if you ate 2 of them in a day, that's 6,000 calories. But you're probably expending,
Yeah.
4,000 or 5,000 calories. And some of the guys used to take the dehydrated meals,
Okay.
and they would open up the can or open up the pouch, and then they would eat it as they went along, as we walked along the trail. Well, the problem is it's dehydrated.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden they're eating it down into their stomach where there's liquid, so it's rehydrating itself in their stomach. Some of them used to get a heck of a bellyache because they ate so much of that stuff. Okay, let's see what else we got for pictures here. That's just me standing in the bush. Okay, and you can see the mountains in the background, and those were small mountains. The area where we spent most of our time, there was one mountain in there that was 953 meters tall. And we used to walk up one side and down the other, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, all the time.
Was that like your training each day?
It wasn't training. I mean, we were looking for somebody who wanted to hurt us.
Okay.
And this is another guy, and he's fixing a meal.
Is that not you?
Pardon?
Is that not you?
No, that's not me.
Oh, that looks
That's
like
not
you.
me.
What
At
was he
one
doing?
point, we were. Well, let's see. Let's do that one last. Here's a Napalm Strike, and napalm is basically laundry detergent and gasoline. I mean, really, that's basically all it is. And you shake it up in a big container. This one here was probably 1,000 gallons.
Okay.
So it was really good size. And it was probably about 500 meters away, 500 to 750 meters away. And we could feel the heat from it. What does that say?
200 meters.
All right, 200 meters. That's 200 meters away. But you could feel the heat from it. And it was really hot.
Did you guys set that off?
An American plane dropped it.
Oh.
Okay, so this is our corpsman. He is from out east somewhere. I'm sure that's our corpsman, or is that me?
Might be you.
Anyway, it might be me. It says it was taken in Da Nang.
It could be either or.
Yeah,
But what are
it's
you
hard to
guys
tell.
doing?
After a while, we all got to look the same. But
What were you guys doing?
no, it's
there?
not me because I never wore a watch.
Okay, so
So this is our corpsman, and this is the guy who got malaria
Okay.
when we got when we got hit out in the bush that one time.
What were you guys doing in that picture?
Uh,
This picture of you guys.
I think we're just kind of hanging loose in Da Nang.
Just chilling out.
Yeah, probably at Freedom Hill PX. The second half of my tour, after I got wounded on that,
Is that what it
observation thing.
That's what that is. Is that where you got wounded?
Nope. I got wounded in the bush. This is the second half of my tour. I spent at this observation post, and the hill that we were on was called OP Ghost Rider.
Okay.
And this, in that tower, well, the thing you can see right there,
That one?
yeah,
That little black stuff?
is a ship's binoculars,
Okay.
and you can see a fly on a guy's nose at 2 miles away down in the valley. So it was pretty cool. And we used to use that in the morning because we had a 50 caliber machine gun up there, and we used to shoot at
The people?
we used to shoot at the alligators that were in the lake,
Just for fun.
just for fun. Okay, this is a helicopter. This is a resupply helicopter that is landing on the on OP Ghost Rider
Okay.
to bring resupplies. Now there was one day one of those guys came, and they were bringing a water buffalo, which is a big water tank, and he missed the LZ and dropped it down the side of the hill. Yeah, that was kind of a mess. Here's a picture taken out of a helicopter. What? Back up. Here's a picture taken out of a helicopter, and that happens to be the Fulak Valley, and the body of water is.
Big hills?
Pardon?
Are those big hills?
Yeah, those are big hills. I mean, they maybe don't look so big, but when you're running up and down the sides of them, they're pretty big.
What was the lake called?
It was called Spider Lake because it looked like a spider. But anyway, at one point we picked up 3 dogs, and that happened to be my dog, and we named it Scotch because of its kind of a brownish color. But
Didn't you guys have 3?
Yeah, we had 3. The other 2 were black and white, and one was called Brandy, and the other one was called, what did I tell you? I don't even remember. Whiskey or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But my dog got my roommate threw him out the little door of the bunker, and hit its back legs on the stoop, and broke his back. And so I took him back into Da Nang, and I was running around Da Nang trying to find a vet that could fix him. And this Korean guy said that he could fix him, so I gave him to him, and he took him home and cooked him, and they made stew out of him. And I saw the guy, a while later, and he said, "Oh, the dog was really good. It made an excellent stew." So I was a little disappointed then, and decided that there were no veterinarians in Vietnam.
No. Those dogs. Why did your roommate throw that dog out?
He probably piddled on the floor of the bunker. Not sure. The bunker that we lived in, the second half of my tour when I was on the IOD site, was probably about 8 feet square, and it had a concrete floor, and it had a little window that looked out over the valley.
Okay, so it was like super tiny.
Yeah, it was like super tiny. It was like a small house.
So how many people did you have to sleep with?
3.
In an 8x8 square room?
Well, in a 64 foot square.
Okay. So
Yep.
like half of a classroom?
Half of a classroom?
Or bigger than a classroom?
Oh, no. About as big as the bathroom.
So
There.
it's
8
like
feet. 8 feet. You're probably 4 foot tall, so 2 of you laying down each way.
Yeah.
It was pretty. It was small, but all we did was sleep in there. Although one of the other guys that lived in there, he was from California. He and I used to play chess in front of the window. He taught me how to play chess.
Yeah.
But other than maybe reading or something, when we had it hooked up to batteries, so it would run a 60-watt bulb for about a week. You know, we had a little switch on the wall and all that. Any other questions you got?
Did you have any other? So what didn't I ask that you would like to tell people? Or what should I have asked?
Like I said before, I don't know very much about the policy in Vietnam.
Yeah.
That was
hidden from
kind of way over the heads of where we were.
Mhm.
I mean, I was just a PFC.
Yeah.
So, you know, all that kind of stuff was way above my pay grade.
So they never told you.
Not really. You know,
They
we were
kind of briefed it.
a lot of times they didn't even tell us where we were going.
You just had to go.
We just went, and you know, if we wound up getting into a firefight, you know, on the way there, yeah, we had to fight. But we had a couple of commanders that were pretty decent that would usually tell us where we were going. Ooh, excuse me, and what we were going to do. But we had a couple that, you know, they kept it all to themselves.
Yeah.
Usually the platoon leader and the platoon sergeant, they took care of getting us where we were supposed to be going.
Yeah.
So they had the maps, they had the radio, you know, so they could talk to people back in our base camp.
Okay.
But, you know, as far as policy and things like that went, they didn't.
You never knew.
No. They kind of treated us like mushrooms. They kept us in the dark, and you know.
Do you have any friends still from Vietnam?
Oh yeah,
So
we used to. Well, we still do get together about once a year around Veterans Day.
yeah.
I have a friend that lives in Ennis, Texas.
So in Texas.
Yeah, which is a little town there, and his wife and my wife Mary have gotten to be really good friends. So they talk a couple times a year, and Danny and I talk a couple times a year. A couple friends that live out east, another one that lives in Houston, another guy that lives in San Diego that we call Hippie, and he was a hippie, no doubt about it. He wore the beads around his neck, and he wore a bandana that his girlfriend had knit for him, and it was different. But he wound up being a professional scuba diver in California. And so we went out to San Diego. The last time we went anywhere, we went to San Diego, and it was a lot of fun.
Was that the last time that you saw them?
Yep. And they're talking about something for Veterans Day next year.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, so I don't know where we'll go, but
I have 2 more questions.
okay.
Did you learn any new languages when you were? Did you ever have to like try to talk those out Vietnamese? So you had to talk
No.
Vietnamese?
Like I said, that was above my pay grade.
And
I was trying to learn French.
yep.
I had a book, and I was trying to learn French, and then I got wounded, medevaced out of country, and so I lost my French book.
Oh,
So I didn't learn any French.
And was there any like restrictions, like you couldn't wear certain things to Vietnam?
Couldn't wear certain things.
Yeah. So like necklaces and stuff. Certain things. Like
No,
you get caught.
well, you know, once you got out in the bush, and you're running around out in the woods and stuff, they didn't care what you wore,
As long as you stayed alive.
as long as you stayed alive and did your job and pulled your trigger when you needed to. Then they didn't. They didn't put any restrictions. Some of the guys got their ears pierced, and wore big gold hoop earrings, and but the problem is that the jungle rot, which is kind of a fungus
Yep.
that you would get in an open wound, got in their earlobes. And I know one guy, he got his earlobe and it just rotted. It rotted right off. This part of his ear just rotted right off.
So did he eventually just lose his ear? Or just
No, he just lost that
earring
part of
part.
it.
Just
I had
where
a
the
big
earrings are.
spot of jungle rot on my cheek. Right here, it's about as big as a dime.
Yeah.
And I had a couple spots on my leg.
Yeah.
But it literally rots your skin right in the
So it just rots
in the
right
hole.
there.
And the corpsman used to clean it. He used to clean it every day. He used hydrogen peroxide and a toothbrush. So he'd dip the toothbrush in the hydrogen peroxide, and then he'd scrub it.
Yeah.
He'd scrub this open sore.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it hurt.
It hurt a lot.
And do you have any more things you want to tell everybody?
No, when I got home, it probably took me about a year to get back into the swing of things. Spent a lot of time listening to the radio and listening to music and
Just trying to get back to
yes,
living a normal life.
right. And then my tour of duty in the Marine Corps was 2 years active duty
Okay.
and 4 years active reserve. Well, I didn't do the active reserve, but then right after I got my release from active duty, which was 6 years, I enlisted in the Army Reserve, and then wound up spending 21 years in the Army Reserve as a medical service corps officer.
So you went back.
So I went back in, but I only drilled out here by the reserve center or up in the cities.
Yeah. So you didn't actually go back to the places. You just
No, I never
helped
went.
out.
Nope, I never went back to Vietnam. We did get my reserve unit got activated for Desert Storm in
And that's when you said you were done.
yeah, and then I finally got orders to go to Riyadh, which is in Saudi Arabia or something like that. But I never had to go because the war got over early.
So you never went anywhere else besides
So-
Vietnam,
Never went.
besides Okinawa. You
Yeah.
went there 3 times when you got injured, right?
Yep, and I went there. Well, we stopped there on our way to Vietnam. And then when I got wounded, went back to Okinawa. And then when I got better, they sent me back to Vietnam. And then when I went home, we stopped in Okinawa on the way home.
So 4 times. 3.
3
You
times.
stopped in
Yeah.
And then where did you get injured?
I got injured right here. There's 2 muscles that raise and control the lowering of your arm. It severed the one on the back side of my left arm.
Is it still in there? From?
It's actually over in here in my chest cavity now.
Oh, now it's over there? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, it was in too far. It was in too far when I got wounded, and they couldn't reach it.
So you could still get it removed if you wanted it. But now it's a memory.
Yeah, now it's a memory, but I can't see it.
Yeah. You don't have to see it.
No.
You just know it's in there.
But yeah, right, and I don't feel it or anything.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
anytime.
That's where we're going to end it.
Okay.
Bye.
Have a nice day.